All right, everybody. Thank you for watching another edition of Raising the Volume for the Gilliard Center. I am Marcus Amaker, the artist in residence emeritus. It's kind of a lot to say, but what I love about this platform is being able to introduce you all to amazing artists in our city. And one of the artists that I keep seeing up at poetry shows, I see you at art events, you're hosting things, is Lauren Sloan. So I'm excited for you all to get to know Lauren. So hello, Lauren.
Hello, nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, so I've seen your art in a lot of different places. I know that you're at Redux right now. Can you just tell us about what you are currently working on and sort of like here, like describe your art for people who hasn't seen your work yet?
Yeah, so what I'm currently working on, actually, first I'll start with my artwork. So my artwork is mixed media. I work in with a few different mediums, watercolor, fabric, acrylic, even with some found objects, clay, whatever the piece actually shows me that it
Yeah.
needs to be. And um, yeah, so yeah, I'm working as a part-time artist at Redux and a full-time designer um at remotely with a company in New York City. So I currently am juggling that type of lifestyle. Was that the question?
Yeah. That's cool because I'm in schools a lot and I talk to a lot of students about life as an artist. What would you say for a student who might be watching, who really wants to be a full-time artist or who wants to work for themselves? What would be some of the advice that you would give to them, or some of the warning signs that
Yeah,
you would give?
I
Yeah.
definitely would say it's a mindset. Like you have to stick with it. You can't stop fighting for yourself. You have to always remember your why.
Mhm.
And also surround yourself with supportive people, like the community. Like Redux is supportive. Free First Festival, the poets are really supportive as a creative. I don't just stick with visual artists. I try to find other artists, whether they're musicians or poets, just to surround myself with support, because it's not that easy, but it's very doable if you don't give up and find creative ways to make it work.
Yeah. So I'm interested. You said always remember your why. What is your why?
Yeah, I for me, like my why is is because, well, a few things. Like it's just my conviction to be creative. Like I know that it's inside of me. Ever since I was like a child, I could feel that desire to create. I felt led to be creative and to express myself visually. So being aware and acknowledging that and executing it and always finding how to do that while, being able to support yourself with, food on the table and a roof over your head.
Yeah.
So being able to be responsible to that desire and that pull within yourself. And then also, it's not just for myself, like being able to have and create platforms for others.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a twofold for me.
Yeah. I definitely agree with all of that because I feel like one of the things that I've probably said it on this show, but somebody told me if you want to get a gig, give a gig, so it's like there is this idea that it is important for us to, provide opportunities for others, especially, us who have like made it as artists. I feel like I lend in that direction pretty hard because it can be an interesting world to navigate, like to be in Charleston. There's a lot of creative things. The city bills itself as a, creative city, but trying to figure out how to make that work can be a tricky thing. So yeah. So how would you compare Charleston's community to some of the other communities that you've been in? Because you were in New York for a while, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. Went to college in Anderson, upstate South Carolina.
Okay.
And then I lived in New York for 7 years. But I think if I could compare Charleston to New York City, you can get lost as a creative. I mean,
Mm,
there are some small little places and stuff, scenes that you can be seen in constantly, but you can easily get lost. But in Charleston, like it's like you start seeing the same faces and they show up, and then you start learning people, and you really get to know a person. And at first it was very intimidating and very scary,
mm,
because you're more exposed to the same type of people. It kind of holds you responsibility to not have surface level relationships. I mean, you
mm,
can, but in New York, it was so surface. But in Charleston, it's like, wait, I'm seeing this same face. Let me introduce myself, you know?
mm.
But yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a sense of a strong community here, and it's lasted
Mhm.
for a long time. I mean, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and meet folks like you, because it gives me hope. Like there's definitely times I feel like there's waves in our art community, but I feel good about where we are now. So I'm curious, what was your jumping off point? For me, my aha moment was listening to Prince, and just being like obsessed with Prince and wanting to be like that. So what was little Lauren doing? Like how did you get sparked to be an artist?
Oh, wow. I mean, there's so many sparks in my life. I think like my childhood self, my mom, she she went to school for like she was always sewing, but she went to school for textile design.
Hmm.
And she would take us as a child. She worked at Ohio State University as a professor, and she would take us to take your daughter to work days. And you could sign up for so because it's on campus, and you could sign up. I was like, me and my sister was like 7 and 8, 9, 12. You could sign up for so many different classes. And I just remember taking an engineering class with like a group of women, and um just being blown away by the kind of design brief at the time. I didn't know that's what it was called, but the push to design and create, and just they came up with simple products. And it's just like, man, like the problem solving. Like I feel like the take your daughter to home was or take your daughter to work was definitely was very inspirational for me.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. I think about that as a dad. My daughter is going to be 4 next month, and just how important it is to, yeah, just model that for them. Like it's normal to be an artist and show them all that stuff. I bet you that was,
Uh,
yeah, like a super big thing for you. Did you start like at an early age, like doing or like making art? Do you have like some examples, in your house or whatever of things that you made when you were 8 or 9 years old? Because I love seeing that stuff.
I have a sketchbook. I look through that sometimes. My parents gave me an art table when I was 5.
Oh,
So
word.
they have photos of me at my art table,
That is
and I
awesome.
was just art, and I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, I don't have any of those same photos, but there are like a lot of like within that photo you can kind of see what I was working on. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And I hope that when you make art now, like have that sense of that wonder and that curiosity as well. Whenever I think about myself doing stuff as a kid, I was like, I didn't care. And I didn't have a model for like, oh, likes or whatever, I just made art just for art's sake, and things have changed so much with social media. How do
Mhm.
you navigate promoting yourself on social media and things like that? And do you think that it's a necessary evil? I call it evil, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I take breaks from social media. I would take breaks, I suggest taking breaks if you're starting to feel it becoming a distraction from you
Hmm.
making art. That's when you're like, oh no, I'm like spending my time on social media instead of making art. Or Or
Yeah.
sometimes I'll be on Pinterest a lot, like making
Okay.
vision boards for different directions and different projects and ideas, which has been super helpful. But as far as promoting myself on social media, I find that it's actually I didn't used to do it a lot when I was like in my mid-20s in New York City, but now that I'm in Charleston, because it's such a smaller community,
Hmm.
I'm finding it's very beneficial because people are like people take notice, and it's kind of, especially at Redux, I feel like it's kind of a chain reaction. Like one person will promote their show that they're about to be a part of, another person will promote their show, and I don't know if it's in response to each other, but it's just really cool to see people promoting their workshops or classes or shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, people in Charleston really start to notice that, and it's kind of motivating for me to just share what's going on in my life. My brother-in-law, when I was in New York, he was always like, Lauren, like you're an artist, like you're a designer, you should just share with your platform what you're doing. And I was like, no, like I don't want to be narcissistic, like no one cares, like I don't. And then
Yeah.
I started thinking about it more, and I was like, I started seeing other people sharing their life and really thinking about what he said, because once you share, people will start associating you with certain industries, or and then from that I've gotten in touch with other artists and other curators and people who just come up to me or are social, they'll DM me and be like, hey, do you want to be a part of the show or whatever, and vice versa. Like I find poets or other creatives to collaborate with,
Yeah.
so super
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. Every time I think that that all of us should just, shut it all down, but I realize, yeah, there are a lot of benefits to it. I just wish that it wasn't so ad driven, like it's like
Oh yeah, no, like
Instagram
that.
especially, it's just ad, and I'm like, and it works, like it totally works. But um
Mhm.
so I'm curious, might be a weird question, but what so like, yeah, you're known as an artist, but what else, like what are your other passions? What other things do you do too when you aren't making art? Like what fuels you?
Oh yeah. So I was a student athlete in college. And
Mm.
one of the things that I really like doing is pushing myself in that aspect. Not that I'm still doing. I was a thrower, so I did the shot put, the javelin, hammer throw, the discus,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, it was really fun. I really like that, the team aspect of everything. So I started this year, I did my first triathlon, my
Oh.
sprint triathlon, and I was it was really interesting because I was pushing myself to swim better. And at the Martin Luther King Jr. pool down here in Charleston, and it was really frustrating, and it was a very hard challenge. I could only swim like 20-25 meters without, and then I would stop and have to go to the back float, and that I did that almost for like 5 months. It took me a long time to swim 50 yards with or 50 meters without stopping, and the actual swim for the triathlon was 250
Okay.
yards. So yeah,
Wow.
it was
Wow.
hard, and I like pushing myself physically because it, first of all, it keeps me in shape, it gives me energy, longevity, but it also mentally keeps me going strong and longer, because it's like when you're jogging for that long, when you're cycling for that long, when you're swimming for that long, it trains your brain to just cut out like distractions, cut out social media when you want to give up. You just don't, you just keep on going. So it builds that muscle of consistency in your head that I feel like I need, and I feel like social media is impending on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to do those things as far as like um workouts in that way so far. More cardio than weightlifting.
Okay. Yeah. Whenever I talk to folks who do a lot of like cardio stuff, they do talk about the mental aspect of it, and how it is like a meditation, even though your body is working really hard. Like it's a total thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to bike, yeah, with you sometime. I saw on your Instagram, speaking of that, you bike, yeah, yeah, because I bicycle. I do like 150 miles every month, so that is my like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah. I do that
wonderful.
all the time. So yeah, it's such a
Yeah.
mental, like, yeah, it's almost like it clears out the cobwebs or
Mhm.
something for me. It's a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so how can people find you on, speaking of Instagram and all that, but how can we find you online?
Yeah, yeah. So my Instagram is called Lauren Schlee, and that's Lauren, and then Schlee is Shlee.
Awesome.
Um, and then yeah, my website is laurensloan.com.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would love for you all to check out her work. I bought one of your cheap pieces for my mom, and she loves it and everything. So yeah, I would love for folks to check out your work. And thank you for spending time with us.
Yes,
All
you're
right.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah. All right. I will see you on another edition of Raising the Volume soon.